Please stop with this senseless belief that people who are doing well in the stock market, they are only making money because bull run is continuing. Do you really think that someone is that genius that they would accurately predict that, hey, you know what, okay, bear run has done, all the fall has happened, now bull run will happen, we will start investing now, this particular date. Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So, generally speaking, people take very hard stands when it comes to investments. For example, on this channel, I have spoken about a bunch of different things. For example, my viewpoint on using credit cards, my viewpoint on investing in a house, my viewpoint on investing in small cap, mid cap stocks, index funds, FDs. So, I have spoken about a wide variety of asset classes, and usually after reading your responses, I get a sense how people are perceiving these videos, and people tend to take very hard stands. For example, if someone is convinced that, hey, you know what, buying a house is probably the best decision out there, then I can give you any logic arguments, you will not believe in it. But I try my best to give you honest, transparent information. And with that viewpoint, I'm going to talk about a very controversial topic, which is cryptocurrencies. The moment I say cryptocurrencies, people drop off. Please don't do that, because this has more to do with human emotions rather than just investment decisions. You will learn a lot about investing psychology if you listen to this video. That's one. Second, people take a ballistic stand on cryptocurrencies. Either you will have people on the right hand side of the spectrum, they will say that, you know what, crypto is fluff, negative, no asset, this, that, okay. And then you will have people on the other side of the spectrum who will say that, you know, okay, crypto is the only thing that is there in the world. You should sell everything, put all your money in cryptos. I am someone who has disclosed categorically through a series of videos, not just one, series of videos, how I am investing in cryptos. Very quickly, I am putting in 5 to 10% of my capital right now in cryptos, and over time, I'll bump it up to 20% of my portfolio. This is a thing that I've said consistently, but people give really weird responses that, hey Akshat, you're promoting cryptos, this, that. Now, very recently, I posted something around cryptos, which outlined the fact that how the Indian rupee is getting depreciated in terms of USD, and how USD is getting eroded in Bitcoins, which is a cryptocurrency. I put that, I asked people that, hey, you should consider diversification because crypto is a good asset class, you could possibly consider it. And people went berserk. Now here is a comment, read it, have fun with it, that I'm promoting dark currencies. Now of course, I am lost for response when people start calling me Lord Voldemort. What am I supposed to do with that? But along the way, there were a lot of thoughtful comments and some acerbic too. So I'll pick these comments and I will have a conversation around it, so that you get more clarity about this entire crypto space, the asset class, and you can juxtapose and compare it with other asset classes as well. When I say the word asset classes, it means asset class would be stocks, mutual funds. These are asset classes of their own. It could be FDs, it could be real estate investments, it could be cryptos. So these are different asset classes that we have. So it's useful for us to at least understand all these different asset classes. Just to give you a very quick example, that I'm very bearish in terms of buying a house, especially as an investment. I do not consider it to be a viable investment. I do not believe in that asset class. It does not mean that I do not learn or educate myself about the housing market, because one day it might change and it might open up new avenues for me to invest, become rich from it. So what's wrong in terms of learning about it? So please take this video with that spirit, and a couple of very quick disclaimers. Number one, this is not an investment advice. I'm not saying that go and invest all your money in cryptocurrencies or even 5% or 10%. The way I transparently talk about and share my strategies of investing in stock markets and different asset classes, I'm doing the same with cryptos. That's it, right? If you want, follow it. If you don't want, please don't follow it. But at the end of the day, this is your responsibility to educate yourself by hearing different viewpoints and forming your own analysis. Second, this is not a criticism video for commenters and haters and spammers. They have their viewpoint, I respect it, it's fine, but sometimes people can get really acerbic. So I might take a little bit of dig on them during this video. Please consider it to be a banter, right? Do not consider it as that I'm trying to prove my viewpoint only, or I'm not listening to the other side. I'll explain you my analysis on this, and then feel free to pick a side. Okay, so what is the controversy about? So this is a post that I made, and I essentially said that the INR is losing value when compared to USD, and USD as an asset class is losing value in terms of Bitcoins. Why did I pick Bitcoins? Because it is usually said that Bitcoin is like digital gold. So essentially in the past, all these currencies, be it US dollars, INR, they used to be gold backed currencies. And in 1971, when President Nixon did this gold standard pegging, we moved to a free float system where the governments now have the power to print infinite amount of currencies. So this post was written from that context, and the viewpoint was that as an investor, what you should be doing. My point of view on that was that you should be investing in different asset classes and you should consider cryptos as a viable investment class. Bitcoin prices are rising up and Bitcoin has been in existence for the last 8 years now. So we are not talking about some weird coin here which has just gotten launched. Bitcoin has been in existence and there has been a general upward trending line on Bitcoins. So this is the graph. You can take a look at the increasing prices of Bitcoins. Okay, so let's get started and let's look at some of the comments. So the first comment comes from Derek. So this person was on a commenting spree and I had to finally block him for the simple fact that he was getting very personal and making personal accusation attacks and whatnot. So let me take one of his questions and let me try to answer it. So he says that try manipulating penny stocks listed on NSE and BSE the way you do for cryptos. Okay. Alright, so penny stocks get manipulated in India and a lot of people make money. Okay, I'll not say anything more than that, but penny stocks get manipulated all the time. I'm avoiding giving you specific brands, but there have been a very recent brand. I've spoken about it on my earlier videos where a big investor in India made a lot of money by taking advantage of that merger. So put the answer in the comment box, which company I'm speaking about.
Yeah, boy.
So you have a lot to gain from putting such posts which are read by smart people. Okay, now start accepting it that you have sponsored by crypto platforms. I have said it earlier that I support Vauld for the simple fact that I myself am a user of Vauld. The first time I invested 1 lakh rupees and showed live investment on Vauld, people started saying that, you know what, Vauld must have paid you. Then I showed it the week after that. Then I kept showing that live investment week after week. Then these type of comments stopped that Vauld was putting money in your account. And finally, people started resorting to that you're promoting brands. Okay, please try to understand this that if you go and check my earlier videos on cryptocurrencies, literally the first video, I have always been a believer on cryptocurrencies. Those videos were not sponsored by anyone. That's it. B, I advocate brands that I personally use. Am I not using Vault and am I just telling you to use it and myself I'm putting money somewhere else? That would have been wrong. I myself use it. Therefore, I share it with my audience, whichever brands I am using. So all these things are already disclosed. If you feel otherwise, please go and watch my previous videos. Okay, so let's take further heed to what the person is saying. Okay, so also show your ITR return and show some solid proof of how much your net worth is in cryptos. You have the guts. Okay, so I do have the guts to shoot this video. Now, I'm not willing to disclose publicly what is my net asset, net worth, this, that. I keep showing periodically how much I'm investing and I keep on showing live investments. That's the best and the most transparent thing that I can do. If you know any other YouTuber or any other person who is doing the same, who is showing live investments, who is disclosing amount that that person is investing in a particular asset, you let me know if you can find more transparency than this. Of course, I'm not going to disclose like 100% of whatever I own. That does not make any sense and that's not even useful for you. What I can do is that I can be transparent. I'm not just saying that, hey, you know what, I use like this particular platform. I just advocate it and go away. I'm advocating the same platform that I use. That is as transparent that anyone could get. That is the best I can say. I know that you would not agree, but honestly, in the interest of transparency, this is the best that I could do. Okay, and just a very quick note that this particular post that I'm talking about, it was not sponsored by anyone. Go and read it. If you can find a sponsor, please tell me. It was not a sponsored post. I was honestly telling you rationale and reason behind it, and I'll explain that point also in a minute. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the second critic. Okay, so Prithvi says that's ridiculous. Dude, blockchain as a technology has a lot of pros. Okay, fine. But comparing crypto with a nation's currency is laughable. Probably. Okay. You claim to be an expert. Please explain if these cryptos have any fundamentals. Now, I'm not sure what to say to this. I made like an entire free course for you to watch where I explained the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. Even some of my videos are titled that. Please Google it. You yourself will understand all the points. But if you're a new viewer to this channel, let me quickly recap. Now, what is the value of cryptocurrencies? Now, first and foremost, there are multiple sorts of cryptocurrencies. The way that there are good stocks and bad stocks, similarly, there are good cryptos and bad cryptos. Again, I have literally handpicked only a few cryptocurrencies that I invest my money in, and I advocate doing the same for you also. I'm not advocating weird cryptocurrencies anytime. You tell me if I have done that. Okay, so coming back to the topic. So what value are cryptocurrencies adding? Number one, many cryptocurrencies, for example, Bitcoin are decentralized, right? Decentralized. For example, Bitcoin has a limited supply of 21 million Bitcoins. That's it. Now, how is this useful? The utility is that governments, for example, US government or Indian government, they have power to print infinite amount of money. Now, imagine a situation where you have 1000 rupees, you keep it in a bank account, right? Then 2020, like coronavirus situation hits. This money is sitting in your bank account, right? And nothing is happening to it. Now, the government decides that, hey, you know what? We are going to increase the money supply in India from, let's say, X to 5X, right? Now, ceteris paribus, all things equal, what happens to this 1000 rupee? It gets deflated in value, plain and simple. This is such common sense. And this is what decentralization means, that there is no central mechanism that dictates, or politicians who dictate that, okay, this is the amount of cryptocurrencies that you must flush into the economy. It doesn't work that way. These mathematical models are already there. Now, let me ask you a question here to critics. Why do you think that we moved away from the gold standard? Right? Why? What was the need? Everything was going well. There was some backing to cryptocurrencies. Gold standard was being used. Why we had to move away from that standard? Give me an honest response, right? And that is the gap that something like Bitcoin is filling. That is the utility of a decentralized currency. Now, what is the second key functionality or utility of cryptocurrencies? It is the blockchain network. Now, because you might ask me that, okay, Akshat, this is very new to me. I understand that, okay, decentralization, no one is controlling it. So, it is good that people can't arbitrarily release more cryptocurrencies, but who controls cryptocurrencies? So it is controlled by a blockchain network. So for example, Ethereum, Cardano, Bitcoin, they are all based on a blockchain technology. The math adds up, right? Coming back to this question of gold standard. In gold standard also math added up. Why? Because you can't extract all the gold in the world in like 1 year and print like infinite amount of currency. That can't be done. There is only limited supply of gold. That gold releases into the economy, so to say, at a very limited pace. Therefore, because the fiat currencies were pegged to gold, therefore you could print only certain amount of currency every year. That system was discarded. Therefore, the value of this $1,000 that is sitting in your bank account, it keeps on going down. So that is the second key thing, right? Third is something called as smart contracts, right? Smart contracts. Okay. Now this is very interesting. Now a lot of people commented that, you know what, Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he is against cryptocurrencies personally, but his bank is investing in cryptocurrencies. Why is that? Do you know more stuff than Jamie Dimon? No, I don't. He is financially very savvy. I am not. But here is the point. Who do you think makes money by being a middleman in the world? Give me an honest answer. It's the investment banks. What does JP Morgan does? JP Morgan is one of the biggest investment banks in the world, and whenever an IPO is getting launched, whenever a big party transfer gets launched, whenever mergers and acquisition happens, all this stuff, what happens in that? JP Morgan acts as a middleman, they get a lot of money. Now, if the financial systems are getting disrupted, of course, they are going to say bad stuff about a financial system that can literally kill some of the key businesses of investment banks. That is the primary point. Why can't Jamie Dimon completely disregard Bitcoins? Since he was so against, why did his bank started investing in cryptocurrencies? Again, I'll give you the reason. The reason is that JP Morgan is one of the many investment banks. It's a race to the top. Something called as DeFi, decentralized finance, is already happening because of cryptocurrencies. Now out of JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, a bunch of different banks, whoever becomes a specialist in this domain, they are going to rise to the top. So do you really think that JP Morgan is going to give up on this new innovative technology? That is the reason why Jamie Dimon himself does not believe in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but his bank does. So anyways, the scope of this video is not to explain you the intrinsic value of cryptocurrencies. I have made a separate video on that. You can go and watch it. But I hope it helps you understand that by using cryptocurrencies, many good cryptocurrencies can cut out the middlemen, like investment banks, like real estate agents. For example, if you have to buy a house from me, you will have to pay stamp duty. You will have to hire a realtor, right, or a middleman or a broker to broker that deal. You don't need that in the smart contract technology. So please read about these basic things. Super important for you to understand it. If you don't understand these things, you will always keep on imagining that, you know what, this new instrument is coming and it has no value. You'll be like a dinosaur who does not understand that the world is getting innovative and you don't know anything happening around that innovation. Okay. So please read about it. I'm not saying go invest money, but at least understand the technology and don't make arguments like that, hey, cryptocurrencies have no intrinsic value. Do you really think that it became like a $2 trillion asset having no value at all? Another key important related point. A lot of people were giving me the example of, hey Akshat, you know what, this tulip mania happened and it has a lot of parallels with bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. Okay. First and foremost, look at the size of the tulip bubble. That's one. You know about the tulip bubble because of the asset price inflation. No one ever talked about the utility of tulips. Now here you have white papers after white papers being published on cryptocurrencies, different types. For example, read about Cardano, how they are working with the governments to solve actual real world on ground problems. Read about Ethereum, how it's actuating smart contract technology. There are a bunch of good things happening in the crypto space. Just because you don't understand it, you start comparing it to like Crocs, or you start comparing it to pet rocks, you start comparing it to tulip mania. Those were speculations. You have to understand the difference between speculation and when something holds value. There are concrete bases to having something value. Let me ask you another question, right? And I would love if crypto critics can answer this one simple question. Blockchain has been there for years, right? Cryptocurrencies came in later, but blockchain used to be there for years. Now, why is it that blockchain has started gaining so much prominence now? It is because of cryptos. Because crypto, for example, Bitcoin, it ensured a mechanism to tokenize and incentivize people to come on a blockchain network and start using it. That is how you build a user base. So that is the prime utility of cryptocurrencies. You honestly tell me, did you hear about blockchain before cryptocurrencies came in? If the answer is yes, then okay, you must be very well read, but majority of the people, 90-95% people would have heard of blockchain because of cryptocurrencies, not the other way around. And that itself signifies some value. Okay, now comes the third question where people start questioning my integrity and honesty and all that. So this is the question from Shrivastava, and she categorically says, if not for this bull run, you have been exposed of your flawed stocks and macroeconomic analysis, blah, blah. Okay, alright. So this person has commented a lot, and I don't know the fascination between like bull run and bear run, and people just assume that you only make money in bull run, and somehow I knew that market is going to come back and I only invest money in bull run. Let me first and foremost tell you, this is my trade book from Zerodha account. I just took a snapshot, and this was the period when market was falling. So this was March, April, May, June. You can see the dates also that the market started correcting from March onwards and it kept on correcting. So you can see on respective days, I have purchased stocks almost every single day. Whatever money I was making, I was putting it in a bear market also. And now I'm sitting on massive profits. Some stocks have given me 150% profit. Why? Because I invested in a bear market also. So technically I made money in a bear market. Now bull run is continuing. I'm still making money from it. Touch wood. So please stop with this senseless belief that people who are doing well in the stock market, they are only making money because bull run is continuing. Do you really think that someone is that genius that they would accurately predict that, hey, you know what, okay, bear run has done, all the fall has happened, now bull run will happen, we will start investing now, this particular date on 15th of October, and we will continue for the next 5 years. No, it doesn't work that way. No one can predict the market that way. So anyone who is making money in the stock market, they would have been investing both in bull run and bear run. And guess what? They are going to continue to do that. Now there is another completely flawed concept that people have, that you always make money by investing in index fund. Now, of course, this requires more complex conversation, but let me give you a very quick summary of this. So this is a video that I made about the US stocks. I categorically said that the S&P 500 is going to correct. Why? Because FANG stocks, the top 5 stocks for the US market, they have a market cap of 20 to 25% of S&P 500. Guess what? Facebook has corrected since I have made that video. Facebook has roughly corrected by 15%. All the FANG stocks have corrected by a lot. So if you are an investor in index, you would have lost money. That's it. You should not do index investing all the time. I'll probably make another video explaining index funds. But the bottom line is that this narrative, I don't know how it comes into the picture. If you really think that, you know what, just okay, put money in index. It used to work in the past. Now it's not working. Especially in a high inflation driven market where the companies are overvalued. Index is getting more and more concentrated. This is a very risky strategy. Now let me talk about Indian index also. For example, Nifty 50 is an index. Now you tell me out of those 50 companies, which 15 companies have made consistent returns? You tell me, right? So you type out your answer in the comment box. I will read it. I'll give you feedback. But the bottom line is that index investing used to be very good, and it's probably good also still. I'm not saying anything against it, but all I'm simply trying to tell you is that there is a lot of risk involved in index investing also. So you need to make index investments in association or conjunction with the market dynamics. Okay, now comes a very interesting question. This is by Vijay. Hey, Akshat is trying to promote cryptocurrency. I'm not trying to promote anything. I work with only one single brand on cryptos. Why? Because I myself use that and I have been advocating that. That's it, right? And that post was not even sponsored. Okay, so diversifying into asset classes which are highly speculative makes no sense. Okay, Vijay, can you take a look at Ujjivan Small Finance and tell me by how much percentage did it fall? Let's say. B, can you take a look at JP Power and tell me in the last 1 month how much it has risen? So do you think volatility is not there in Indian stocks? It is, right? It is. And this are not hand-picking cases. I can show you examples of small case, mid-cap stocks which have corrected by 70-80% also. Take a look at 2020 COVID crisis. Why did a stock like Bajaj Finance correct by 60%? 60%. So, just because some asset has volatility does not mean that it is a bad asset. Bajaj Finance came back and it is making new highs now. Now, you could have disregarded a stock like Bajaj Finance saying that, you know what, this is a highly volatile stock. It corrected by 60%. It's madness to invest your money in it. It is senseless. It does not make any sense. The reason why cryptos move so vigorously, they are highly volatile instrument. They are risky. I have never said that cryptos are not risky. Cryptos are risky. But what is the logic behind it? Crypto market is like this big. It has $2 trillion of market cap. Stock market is like this big. It is huge. So of course, in a small market, it is going to move a lot. That is what the concept of volatility is. That's A. B. If you take a look at this chart of Bitcoin, what do you see? Prices generally overall have gone up and up and up for Bitcoin. So volatility is not downward for a good cryptocurrency. So that's the point that I will leave you with. Okay, so the next question comes from Nikunj. He has given a lot of rational arguments around USD, INR, how the fluctuation happens, have taught us a lot of economics. This is a very well thought out comment, really respected, and I would love to engage on these type of conversations. And his entire post has been summarized, so to say, by Makrant, right, who is a CFA, I assume. So let me read that out and then let me explain you the rationale behind it. Okay, so Akshat, crypto prices has nothing to do with INR, USD movement. Okay, exchange rates are based on interest rate parity, and he has explained a lot of things. Okay, now let me give you like a logical viewpoint and let me ask you a very simple question. Okay, very simple question. Let's say that you have 100 rupees, right? And you have three options. One is that you can go and keep these 100 rupees in INR format only, right? Or you can take like a USD, whatever, like $1.5 worth, right? Because USD is almost 70 rupees. So we'll assume it to be USD. Or you can buy some Bitcoins out of it. So which option should you execute and why? So that was the simple point that I wanted to convey from my post. Why? Because I was writing that post from a retail investor and money making point of view. I was not trying to explain macroeconomics there. Now history tells us that the INR is going down and down and down. If you read a little bit of forecast, you will understand that next year, right now, INR is trading at 75 rupees to a dollar. Next year it is approximated that INR will go to 80 rupees. Now since the INR is getting devalued because you can buy more of INR by putting in a dollar. Right now with $1 you can buy 75 rupees. By the year end or next year you will be able to buy 80 rupees from $1 US. So what is happening to your currency if you are keeping it in INR? Is that a good idea? The answer is no. Logic tells us, right? USD, okay, fine. Now compare USD to Bitcoin, which is getting deflated. Same comparison, the way I was doing. So you tell me like all this comparison you have done, but if you have 100 rupees to keep, in which currency will you keep it? And this is especially true in a high inflationary environment, and that is the intent with which this entire thing was written. Yes, you can teach me a lot of macroeconomics and I completely agree with all those points, but just simply give me an answer to this question. You have 100 rupees, go and put it in a bank and see it deplete by next year. That is a simple point. If you go and keep that in USD, again you will lose money in comparison to the Bitcoin. And of course, this is not a comprehensive answer, but at least it gives you a framework to think about how interest rate, inflation interact with each other. You have to factor those things also. But given the high inflationary environment right now, it makes sense to diversify your holdings into other assets also. Now you would say, Akshat, okay, you know what, you are just handpicking things. Why is it that you're talking about INR and USD also? Can you give some other examples? Okay, so this is how cryptocurrencies are getting absorbed across the world. For example, take a case of Turkey. Why is it that cryptocurrencies have found such high acceptance in Turkey? The reason is very simple, because their currency is destabilized. Why is cryptocurrencies finding so much traction in countries like Lebanon or in African countries? Because their inherent economy is weaker. So whenever any country's economy starts to weaken, and this happens with emerging economies very quickly, people in those countries, they start adopting alternate forms of currencies. Otherwise, you will get into a situation like Lebanon. There is a post that I did on Instagram. I'll link it in my description box also. You can read about the Lebanon currency crisis. You will understand why the crypto adoption there has been high. Now then I start getting some weird comments like from Krishan, तुम गारंटी लेते हो, बताओ भाई क्रिप्टो की कि वो सेफ है, इतनी एफर्ट किस बात के डाल रहे हो? ओके, क्या आप गारंटी लेते हैं कि my stock investments are safe और my INR is safe? If you take guarantee of my INR, I'll take guarantee of your cryptos.
What?
Bottom line, keeping these type of blame logics aside, if you're looking for guarantees, please go and invest your money in an FD. This stock market, crypto market, all this is not for you, right? Please do not do that if you're looking for guarantees of return. It will never happen. You have to do cost benefit analysis. Why is it that you will be getting like 50% return on your FD? Why? Because you are not taking any risk. If you take risk only, then you will make money. Similarly, assume that if I go outside my house, I might get hit by a car. So I will never even walk outside my house. then you can continue to live your life that way, right? So I hope you get the sentiment. This is not a criticism, but very wrong way of approaching things that, you should be taking guarantees because you're talking about cryptos. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you my strategy of what I am doing. You feel free to incorporate that or discard that. Then I also get super weird comments. Now this is a comment by Ram Prakash. He says that, but sir, recently Mohan Bhagwat said that he didn't believe in cryptocurrency, and we all know BJP can't go against RSS. If 2024 ruling party changes, then there will be some scope of regulation by the Indian government. Okay, now I can't comment on Mohan Bhagwat, and I can't comment on Sadhvi Pragya, and then I can't comment on Yogi Adityanath's views on cryptocurrencies. It's impossible for me to do it. I'm not criticizing BJP. I'm not an apolitical person. I don't care about it. But of course, please don't ask for my views on like what BJP is doing. But important question is that, hey, how will the regulation play out? So two things that you need to understand. One is that government makes money from cryptocurrencies, because whatever gains that you're making from cryptocurrencies, they are classified as capital gains and you will have to pay taxes on it. So government is making taxes from cryptocurrencies. That's it. Second, will they regulate it? Will they ban it? It depends on so many things. For example, who the leader is, what do they care about? You have leaders like Robert Mugabe who looted the entire country. So I don't know who will be running India in a few years' time. What will they do? But simple argument here is that, see, number one, Indian government is already making a lot of money from cryptocurrencies. B, if you try to stop technology, how will you do it? It will manifest in some way or the other. There are benefits to blockchain technology. The most likely outcome, and this is something that I've spoken on my earlier videos also, that cryptocurrencies and existing form of currencies will coexist. It's not a war that only crypto will win or only USD will win or INR will win. For example, right now you have USD, Chinese renminbi, you have Japanese yen, all are coexisting, right? Similarly, crypto might also exist with them. That's the way I see it. That's the story that I'm choosing to believe in. You need to take and form your own narrative and accordingly take bets or not take bets. Now comes the final point around electricity and money laundering. So I got a lot of comments around these things that cryptos use a lot of electricity, right? Cryptos use a lot of electricity because different crypto blockchain networks were using something called as POW, proof of work. Now they are switching to proof of stake. Now this is beyond the scope of this video for me to explain the difference between these two things, but consider it to be a technical switch, right? Now when this switch happens, the electricity that is consumed within these networks will come down. So that's one. That's a part of evolution. It's like saying that back in the 1900s, some automobile used to give a mileage of 3 kilometers per liter. Now you have cars that might be giving 25 kilometers per liter. So development will happen in this space also. That's A. B, people are saying that, hey, this is like corrupt, promotes like terror financing, this, that. Okay, every technology has positives and negatives, but few key points. It's not as if that crime is not happening in the world. It's very sad to see that. That's a human problem. That's not a currency problem, right? We need to be clear about that. You can't squarely blame it on the fact that because cryptocurrencies are there, therefore crime is there. That's incorrect. Dawood Ibrahim existed, ISIS existed, Saddam Hussein existed before cryptocurrencies came in. And they were bad people and organizations. It's not as if that terror financing is happening because of cryptocurrencies. That's it's a human problem. It requires a different solution altogether. It has nothing to do with that. Around environment, another important point that when you print notes, don't you think that trees get cut? There has been hardly any improvement on this front. So bottom line is that cryptocurrencies are not perfect. There are some problems with cryptocurrencies from an environment point of view and bunch of different things. But you need to do pro and con analysis, especially of such a big thing. For example, if you talk about internet, do you think internet is perfect? There are so much negative things on the internet. People are getting bullied. A lot of bad things happening. So should we ban internet? Similarly, what about atomic bomb? Should we ban atomic bombs also? Why are countries and governments developing nuclear warheads and nuclear weapons? There is no debate to technology from that angle. So I hope you understand the sentiments, and in summary, what I am simply trying to say is that number one, you should stay diversified within different asset classes. If you don't believe in cryptocurrencies, don't invest, no problem. Diversify within some other asset classes that you think of. Number two, please don't assume that cryptocurrency is fluff, and please stop with that nonsense. It is completely incorrect that you are still calling cryptocurrencies as fluff. It just simply shows that you have taken no efforts to read about this. Third and finally, you need to develop your own investment strategy. Please don't go by what I am telling or someone else is telling. My goal is to share my investments and strategies with you. You need to build your own investment thesis. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you the next time.